should I be in e-commerce? Or is the market too saturated?
It's a career.
To start a platform?
As a career.
Start a platform or to be a merchant?
Digital commerce, there's no other option but to be a part of it.
Yeah. I think being part of e-commerce, the only way is not to be a platform, right?
Yeah.
Like now, all the D2C brands are part of e-commerce.
Yeah, they're all e-commerce.
And everyone, so the beautiful thing that has happened because of e-commerce platforms is now personalization and localization that can happen, like it was not possible ago. So now people are like finding very niche and basically serving them. So you only get discovered with a particular search term and people buy you again and again. So I'm saying lots of these micro D2C brands are possible. So I'm saying being part of e-commerce, everything that you do around selling digital products is being part of e-commerce. And I believe it will only accelerate because there's no other way anymore.
Hamari dunya mein, right? Like, especially us three living in Bangalore, we're all products of a startup bubble which started last decade. And I think, to be fair, like we were talking about knowing your flaws, I think we're cognizant to the fact that we are byproducts of a startup bubble. What happens to e-commerce once the deep discounting in a way or the marketing money which was funded by cheap cost of capital abroad goes away? Like, how do things change? Let's say there is no funding available for growth for Indian e-commerce companies in the next 3 years, and they have to survive with the money they have left. How does each one change?
In my mind, it's a very hypothetical question. But I think, look, when you are building a business, you know that this much of money you need. Let's say plus minus, you can say that. I think only you can say that, hey, growth is the right matrix. If you are growing, then investing money, even though, let's say, profitability comes after, let's say, 4 or 5.
I don't agree.
Hear me out. I understand. But if you are with those unit in your boundaries, you are capturing the market share and growing. I think I am in that kind of a student where I'll support that. But burning money and hurting the company, like you burn money, you get the GMV. But your unit economics not holding. You should not do that. But it will kill your company.
But you're also making an assumption that this tap is open where you continue to get money to burn money.
But by the way, unit economics, I also feel like why unit economics, why not EBITDA?
I'll tell you why. And it's a great thing. Of course, EBITDA. Everybody is aiming for EBITDA. I'm not contesting that.
So I'm saying that has to be positive. Ideally, you should make money.
Some cohort, let's say, growth is an important matrix also.
That's the problem. I've been a growth story in a way, and I don't think that holds true. Because I'll tell you why. I'll explain you why. After a point, the growth comes at an extraordinary cost.
And that's what I'm saying, that we should not do that if it's coming at extraordinary cost.
आपको मालूम ही नहीं पड़ेगा. You will be lost in that journey of growth. You want it at any cost. You want to be the leader in this category and the space which you belong to.
I think that is so true.
But sir,
many people. By the way, I believe, so my opinion is there are multiple things. There are one stage of the business, especially in e-commerce, you need to cross a critical mass
that growth
of scale.
Is required.
And unless you get there, if you try to become profitable too soon, you get into a negative spiral.
It's okay.
So, because people take the same lesson, apply across stages. I don't believe it works. So you have to get to critical mass, but after that, I believe you need to be profitable.
Of course, I'm not
right. So our goal is, I think by the end of this year, we'll become profitable because like ab nahi karenge to kab karenge, right? You have 5 billion of sales now. Make sure that the business becomes profitable. But if I tried to do it 4 years ago, I would have made a big blunder.
So Nikhil, I have a very interesting take on technology. So I always believe that technology does 3 or 4 things, which different from the traditional or the old economy. One, it reduces space, reduces time, and creates social interactions. And like in fashion business, on digital commerce, you can do 10 stock turns, wherein in physical you can't do more than 3.5. You can work with less number of people. You can introduce a lot of processes. And then social interaction is something digitally you can build a lot and acquire customers at a much lower cost than what physical. Because in physical, the world economy used to advertise for everybody. Here you can target, you can do a lot. So it has a lot of advantages. Anybody who will take advantages of all these things will going to be the winner. And constraint can create companies.
Yeah, of course.
And lastly, I also believe that unless you don't have X amount of value addition done, you are not in a business only.
Yes. But in e-commerce also, if you'll see a scale business, these are scale business, and that's why I was not able to answer on the Nika, because I was not imagining where the scale will come from. Because supply chain, the same thing goes on, because those are the principles where more and more scale you can reduce the cost. I think building those capabilities where sourcing is a big thing in e-commerce. Let's say, and
But retailing is sourcing.
no, but sourcing, if I'll crack sourcing, and definitely I'm not talking about the going and doing that math on sourcing rather than buying, keeping that inventory, and then distributing and saving the money. I think that's a loose math, and it will only come on certain scales when you involved on the production side of it.
Interesting. Any final words for anybody looking to get involved in e-commerce? Final thoughts? सोचो मैं 20 साल का लड़का हूँ बैंगलोर में, कॉलेज खत्म हुआ है, ई-कॉमर्स में काम करना है. Thoughts?
So when I look at D2C brands, D2C brands are something like you are living in a neighborhood and you opened a shop. I think you start from there, and from there you grow and it allows you to open to a much larger audience. So that's the way forward. You can't now go and open a shop below your building here. It's great to get into digital commerce, and if you're lucky and if you do well, if you're passionate, I think it's a great business to be.
No, I believe there is no other way, right? So I believe, as I think we started in the beginning, the definitions between e-commerce, commerce, offline commerce are getting blurred more and more. So if you want to do anything in commerce, you have to basically figure out how to make e-commerce work. This holds true for anyone who's starting a business today. So I think if you want to create value, I think you will become a part of this. So I think instead of asking, should I become part of this? Question is, what do I need to do to really become successful at this? And I believe that will happen. Like social, figuring out influencers, figuring out everything else, figuring out marketplaces.
I think contrary, it has integrated them, because you get the same product, same thing. Earlier, when people defined that, when offline, hey, you'll get something in Delhi or in Mumbai or in big cities, you'll not get in tier 2 or in. Now, e-commerce made it, every product is available everywhere.
We all agreed that's become a very relevant part, right? Figuring out
Very big.
social to sell anything.
So I think if you are doing commerce, online will happen for sure. Some people will do hybrid as well. But I'm also seeing, so for example, 40% of sellers on Meesho are online only sellers. They don't sell anywhere else. So they became entrepreneurs for the first time because they figured out, hey, I can go on this platform. I know how to merchandise well, how to price well, how to figure out what trends work on this marketplace and so on. So people are creating businesses, basically. So I think that will happen more and more. Lots of online native sellers will come, and they would have never known what does it mean to sell offline.
I believe, let's say, I can only finding the similarity when we have started, let's say 2007, 2008. The internet at that time was not even the main channel. Only 8 million people having the broadband and the internet access at that time, 2008. But I think taking that punt as the internet is a most powerful thing, and people have evolved. Like social, I believe the 20-year guy who understands much better than me, and because when we have to learn, talk to him. And finding commerce definitely doesn't matter which channel, but it will going to happen and adopted in a most evolving way. I believe the social influencers and all are a great channel. How to get use of that look, I'm not talking about supply chain, I'm not talking about inventory. Those are given. If you wanted to transport one physical goods, those will come into play. And somewhere it's solving or solved, it's evolving in own pace. But getting into the consumer side of it, where the consumer's minds are, be part of that and see how one can be do those commerce transactions, how to influence. I think that's the advice. and new channels already are emerging.
Hi, I'm Nikhil. Thank you for watching the podcast. Let us know who your favorite guest has been and who you'd like to watch next. Thank you.